Welcome to Evangelical-ish, where we discuss the good, the bad, and the ugly of the American Evangelical Church, deconstruction, faith, and God's love through it all. Remember, if you're listening to this podcast on Apple, Spotify, or any of your favorite podcast platforms, let us invite you to join the live interactive recording most Wednesday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific on the Evangelical-ish YouTube channel. Now to this episode of Evangelical-ish. And hello, everyone, and welcome to the pod. I'm Paul.
I'm April.
And I'm Jeremy.
Jeremy!
Just
Hello,
another
hello.
show. Just another regular podcast.
The
Just
second
a
coming.
Wednesday night. The second coming.
He's returned.
Oh, that's
Second
funny
coming.
because I was feeling like I'm left behind. You guys are being raptured out of the show, and I'm left behind.
Oh.
It's way better than actually getting sucked up into the,
That's
maggot
true.
death that is heaven.
Right.
Anyway, man, good to see everybody tonight. Welcome into Evangelical-ish, and hope that everybody is having a great week. Just a couple of things real quick. You can go to evangelicalish.com. You can support the podcast there. You can join the ish community, get on the chat board, do all the good things. And then, of course, we've got a
And everybody right now is going, wait, what? Yeah.
I know. Confused.
Yeah. You
I don't
can
know why I said it like that.
so confused. You can join the private Facebook group. It's just Evangelical-ish, and on there, just answer the questions so that we know that everybody's safe and everybody agrees to be safe. Lots of good conversation happens there. Deconstruction talk, life talk, just all sorts of things. And so definitely take the opportunity to do that. It's a really great community. Over 1,000 folks are a part of that community, right? So that's really good. And this is like riding a bike, man. I tell you what, we got a lot of good things to talk about. So I'm going to keep the intro short, especially since I'm not even really sure if everything I said is accurate anymore. But
Right. We'll have to defer to Paul later.
Yeah, exactly.
The website the same. Also, Beecher says in the comments that we shouldn't cuss for the first few minutes because our oldest daughter is watching for the first time. It's summer, so she gets to stay up a little bit late. So
man.
zip it.
All
You
right.
have no idea how bad I want to cuss when you tell me.
Don't you do it.
I
I'll have
won't.
some
You won't.
explaining to do to my 8-year-old.
I respect your kids. I watch my wordy dirds in front of my kids. So
Yeah. Excuse me.
I remember the time when my son was really young and he was riding in the backseat of my car, and I had I can't think of the singer's name now, the song with the big FU in it. And
CeeLo Green.
Yeah,
Yeah.
CeeLo,
Yeah.
yeah.
forget you.
And
Yeah.
forget you, yes. And
Yeah.
it hits that moment, and I'm like, oh, Sammy, I'm so sorry I let that happen. I usually tune those out. And he's like, I hear my sister and her friends say that word every single day. Yeah,
Narc.
Oh my gosh, the sister's like, shut up.
yeah, exactly. And I
Oh
was
my
like,
gosh.
Father of the Year right here. Thank you.
Yeah.
Of course. Also want to wish everybody a happy Pride. I'm wearing one of my Pride.
Ooh, I love it.
I've got
Sure.
my tie-dye on for you.
I know I'm bummed we're not going to get to go to a Pride event this year because we're going to we're going to be out of town for Lexington Pride, which is sad. But I've heard it's cool.
Oh, nice. Jenny, who has been our help meet, can I say that? Sorry.
Ooh, no, gross.
Who has done amazing work for us. Is talking about here on the live stream. She said, we got caught in a hailstorm a few weeks ago. And when they got home, their son said, Mommy said the S word.
Tattletelling. Yeah, my kids like to tell on me too.
You shouldn't say the word stupid. Stupid is a bad word.
Correct.
That's the S word.
Our
Yeah.
kids are excited because we just gave them the green light that they can start saying but, and they have been using that word all the time.
This is what you get when you become liberal, April. You start allowing your kids to talk about their rear ends like that.
Yeah, it's crazy over here.
It's insane.
I remember when our family had the sit down when I was a child in my childhood home, and gosh is just another form of saying God as a cuss word, and G is just a form of saying Jesus as a cuss. We weren't allowed to say gosh or G either.
Yeah, I heard that as well because
Yeah,
it sounds like that was the same thing. I heard some people say not to say shoot because really you're just replacing the other S word. And if your heart's wanting to say the real one, then you shouldn't say the fake one
yeah,
either.
your heart. Yeah,
Yeah.
your heart. But I thought it was really funny that in my household growing up, it was always like, we couldn't say any of those things like Paul's talking about, right? Like, the shoot, the darn. We couldn't say darn
Right.
or any of those things, but we could say dadgummit,
Mm.
which is just other things imposed.
Yeah, that's
Mhm.
Like
just
if you,
GD. That's
yeah,
just
it is. It's literally
dyslexic GD.
that's all that is. And I was like, really? Like my dad finally, like at some point when I was an adult, I was like, Dad, do you realize like this didn't really make a lot of sense? And he goes, I never thought about that. Like he literally it just like blew his mind.
Oh my man, what is it? There's like a frog in my throat. Okay, that's better. Jeremy, you haven't been here since the beginning of the year, and
Yeah.
we've missed you. And there's a lot that's happened. And there's an election
Yeah. There
coming
is.
up. So I don't know. I want to hear what you think about all these things because your voice has been
And a
missing.
debate,
Yeah, what do you,
tomorrow night as we're recording this live stream.
how do you think the debate's going to go?
I mean, I obviously it's it's why everybody slows down on the highway when there's a wreck, right? Like, I mean, it's it's a train wreck, and you just can't look away. I think I am more disenfranchised with this election than I have been in a long time. I wasn't really excited about the 2016 election either, but it's just there is so much turmoil and so much chaos, and I feel like most of the country, I want to say, falls into the middle somewhere where we just want good ideas for each other, we just want the best for each other, we want success and a better economy and all of those things, but the outer sides are so loud and just full of nonsense, and it just seems like common sense is not so common anymore. And some of the things Trump is talking about is not only does he sound stupid, but like
The S word.
the S word. Not only does he sound S word, that's good. But
He is
but
full
also,
of the S word quite
Mm.
often.
I mean, he
yes.
knows a lot about boats and sharks.
Oh my gosh.
But it's like when he's saying things that don't just sound completely asinine, the other things he's saying are scary.
Yeah.
And it's like I have just decided, and I think Paul and you and I were talking about this the other day when we were on a Zoom. I think that there is literally nothing that he could ever say or do at this point that would make the people who follow him stop listening to him. And that's scary. That we've joked about it being a cult. We throw that word around a lot with a lot of different things. I think this feels very much like a cult. And I feel like if he has an opportunity to win in the fall, we're going to be in a lot of trouble. Like, I feel like there's a lot hanging on this election.
Yeah, I have a lot of anxiety when I think about it. And like I know for a fact I am not voting for Trump. But then I don't like Biden really either at this point. He's really old. Like they both are. Like, can we just have like an age maximum limit? Like you have
We need one.
you have an age limit on the front end. I think we need to add it on the back end, but all the old people in Congress are probably not going to do that. So until all the young people take over and they're in the majority. But yeah, it's wild, especially when you see like the Christian nationalism aspect of it that's gaining ground on the right side of everything and Project 2025. And they have planned it out that if Trump is elected, the things that they're going to do and the things that Trump's going to pass is going to get us much closer to an actual theocracy or some sort of authoritarian government. And that's just terrifying. And like Trump's not a Christian. He doesn't care. He's not, I wouldn't even say he's definitely not a Christian nationalist, but he has zero problem exploiting Christian nationalists and Christian ideals for his own power.
Well, the other night he was saying, are you happy the 10 commandments are going up on the wall? Louisiana is forcing religion into the classroom in the public schools in Louisiana. And he said, they don't want this to happen. Have you ever read the 10 commandments? He said, thou shalt not steal, thou shalt. They're beautiful, those commandments.
Oh my gosh. Commandments. That is so basic.
He didn't know them. And then I started going through them on a video I did on TikTok. Thou shalt not commit adultery. Thou shalt not have any graven images, with Trump Tower and the golden Trump statue. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. And all he does is golf every single Sunday. I mean, it's ludicrous that people think he's the Christian savior.
Oh my gosh. I know. I keep seeing these memes of people that there's like that one image where I think it's supposed to be Daniel and Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, where they don't bow down to the giant statue. Like, so they're the only ones standing, and they put on the statue like the pride flag or something LGBTQ. It's so stupid saying like that's the idol. And I'm like, no, that's Trump. And y'all are like, I don't know. It's
every accusation is a confession, right? And by the way, Daniel, we don't know where Daniel was when the boys didn't bow down to the idol, because it says everybody but Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego did. So Daniel must have been out of town or something.
Oh, maybe it wasn't Daniel then. Whoever. Doesn't matter. They were the men that were standing. You know the meme. It's out there.
It's scary to think about. And we had Catherine Stewart on the podcast a little bit ago, how much of what was happening in the 80s is now bearing fruit for Christian nationalism, that they truly have been committed to this, plowing this field for decades. And I think truly the rest of us, we were kind of in it, but the rest of the country was just like, oh, look at these crazy people doing these after school programs and bribing kids with pizza, and the school saying, yes, if we get free help, we're all for it. And it really is paying dividends of the 10 commandments going into school and Roe v. Wade being overturned. It's really a scary, scary thing. And now many Christians, I see far too many Christians saying, if the Constitution is in the way of us being a Christian nation, then the Constitution needs to be set aside for a while until we become godly again.
Oh, yeah. And they want to take away the woman's right to vote because they think women are the downfall of society, because majority of women vote for Democrats. So we're bad. We're
bad.
We've been bad girls.
And that's, and that Joel Webbin is just a wealth of cringy videos. But, legitimately, I putting the 10 commandments in the classroom is, and people are like, well, it's just good moral law. And then I'm like, okay, well, let's put something from the Quran up there. Let's put some of the Buddhist principles. And then they're like, no. And I'm like, oh, it's not about
Paul,
morals,
how else are they going to stop kindergartners from committing adultery unless it's in the classroom?
That's a great point. I mean, I had never thought of that, honestly, because I didn't know that was a problem we had. So, but I also
and they need to stop coveting their neighbor's ass. Which is part of the 10 commandments, but
I think
in the KJV
I think that's important on a lot of levels, but I find it really rich that they are taking their lead from a guy that is not just accused of, but has been convicted of 36 felonies or something like that, like in the state of New York, and has all of these other legal issues pending. And a jury found him
libel that a jury of 12 people said, yes, he raped E. Jean Carroll. He's been found to have.
Like how many of the commandments has Trump himself broken?
All of them.
Consistently. Maybe not thou shalt not kill, perhaps. We don't have him on that.
I wouldn't put it past him, but yeah.
I don't think he
but this is the same guy who is like, I could shoot somebody in the middle of Fifth Avenue.
I'm not saying he wouldn't, but
I was thinking about that as I was going, honor mother and father. I was kind of like, okay,
maybe he's got that one. Maybe he does honor
he have
them.
that one? Maybe. I don't know.
I mean,
his children love him. They use that as an excuse for like to show that Trump's a good person. But look at his kids; they respect him so much.
Where's Ivanka and where's Melania right now? How about that?
That's a great question. That is a great question, and one that he doesn't want you to know the answer to. But I would, I mean, not to get all biblical on us, but, Jesus said, when it comes to the commandments, what you've done in your heart, you've done for real. So, I'm sure he's murdered a lot of people. He certainly has wanted to murder every opponent that he's ever squared off with. I mean, he talks all sorts of nonsense. You remember Ted Cruz is now his puppy, which is crazy because he was like, he basically called Ted Cruz's wife a hoe. Like, I mean,
and he went after Ted Cruz's dad.
Yes.
His late dad,
which is crazy.
Called him an assassin.
Yeah. And then Ted Cruz had that one moment of courage at the 2016 Republican convention, or I guess it would have been 2015, but he was like, vote your conscience. And then immediately was like, I'm just kidding, Daddy Trump.
Well, I always think the reason Trump had those boxes in his bathroom is either he was going to sell secrets to other countries or was in the process of selling them, or he had leverage. It's like Lindsey Graham was saying, Trump is a kook. He will kill the Republican Party. And they go golfing together. And Lindsey comes out saying, Trump's the greatest. So I assume those boxes contained lots of leverage on lots of people. And Trump was able to say, yeah, you're going to look like a total fool, but otherwise, I'm going to tell people what you done.
Mm-hmm. Beecher says in the question, or asks a question in the comments, if Trump didn't exist, would this podcast exist?
Good question.
I feel like Trump was a catalyst for a lot of our questioning of beliefs. So I don't know. Maybe we would have existed eventually. I also think it was a perfect storm because this was also birthed out of the pandemic.
True.
Yeah. That's true.
Yeah. I think there are several things that, it's tough to ever have the hindsight and say, if, X never happened, would Y have actually happened? I think that's a hard thing to ever say. But I would say that probably the three of us, our content would not have taken off the way it did early on TikTok, which is where this all kind of got its roots. I think certainly our content wouldn't have taken off the way it did without Trump. Because I think a lot of us started talking about how ridiculous it was, even as evangelical as I was. I can't speak for both of you, everybody in the room, but what I can say is, as evangelical as I was when we started out, I think Trump was the thing that made me really start to call out a lot of the two-faced nonsense that I was seeing inside of the church, how they could support him with all of his ridiculousness and still say they follow Jesus. Mm-hmm. Those things seemed very counterintuitive to each other. And so I think that's what certainly drove my content. And I would venture to say some of y'all's as well. So that's probably what connected us. But I think this podcast would have existed one way or the other, because I think our journeys are very, very unique in their own ways, and have led to some really neat things, some hard days, some, challenging days, and are going to continue to develop. But I mean, that's kind of my thought. I don't know. What do y'all think?
Trump was definitely for us the straw that broke the camel's back, and like we can't be a part of this anymore. And then reading Letter from Birmingham Jail for me was when I said, okay, I can't be silent anymore. I know I'm going to lose friends. I know I'm going to hurt feelings. But I always asked, like during the civil rights movement, what would I have done? Would I have been silent, or would I have spoken up? And at that moment, I said, this is my moment to choose. Am I going to be silent and on the wrong side of history, or am I going to risk speaking out?
Yeah, that was kind of how I felt as well. Because initially, I started speaking out against Trumpism within the church and Christian nationalism that I was seeing. And I was starting to realize, okay, we have.
Wait a second. I'm sorry to interrupt, but your partner just said that you started with mom content.
I did. When I first downloaded TikTok in the pandemic, I was making funny mom videos. And I went
Nice.
viral a couple times. My actual first viral video was me talking about postpartum poop. That first postpartum poop, and it went really viral.
Okay, we're gonna have to find that in the archives.
I just have to say this, April. Like you are social media gold. Like your creativity.
So clever.
I mean, I just think you would have gotten to where you are now, probably in any niche. Certainly this one has played out well for you. But I really think you, because just the creativity and the stuff you come up with, sometimes I'm just like, God, I'm stupid. Like all I do is look in the camera and rant about, how stupid Greg Locke is or something, which has its place too.
Those are funny rants though. They do well.
I mean, I try, but it's not like, I mean, you just take anything and just go with it. And it's like, it's comedic gold 99% of the time when you're trying to be funny, or it's, it's connecting when you want to be connecting. I don't know. You just have a knack for it that, you deserve to be TikTok famous, I guess is what I'm saying.
Oh, Jeremy. Well, thank you. I do try. Like, I don't want to be like, oh, it's nothing. Like I do put an effort.
I do it for the Lord.
Yeah, there's nothing good in me. It's only him.
Yeah, it's just the Lord moving through me.
Yes.
Yeah, it helps that Beecher's also very creative, so they help me out sometimes too. But yeah, I've always just made, even before TikTok was a thing, me and my two brothers, like in high school and college, would just make stupid videos for fun, and literally nobody would watch it. We had maybe 3 subscribers on YouTube.
Right.
But I just liked being funny. So
yeah.
I interrupted your story on Trump.
Yeah, I don't remember what I was saying, but yeah.
Was it the
I was just saying,
for you?
Yeah. Well, I think I remember now. I was realizing in real time, I think starting probably in 2015 in the primary leading up to 2016, that so much of my own faith was wrapped up in politics, because I couldn't look away from the clear hypocrisy that I was seeing from a lot of evangelicals that I respected that were going all in for Trump, which we have beaten this topic to death. We've talked about it so much. But seeing the hypocrisy so loud and so obvious made me look at my own faith, and I realized, oh, I have really politicized my relationship with Christ and what that means. And so that was kind of when I first started going back to reading the Gospels, really. And I was like, what are Jesus's actual teachings? What is he telling us to do? I don't think it's just condemning queer people all the time and taking away rights, like and wanting positions of power. That seems to be the opposite of what Jesus was teaching. So
he was not running around saying "Make Israel great again." That wasn't his mantra.
Right. And when he was arrested, he didn't tell his disciples to gather up all his followers and storm the Capitol to overturn the results of the vote between him and Barabbas.
That's true.
Having gone this journey and even to a place where I'm like, nah, I'm not a Christian anymore by any normal definition of Christian in our country. But I still think the Bible gives an explanation to real principles, I guess I would say. And so to me, Trump is a lot like, King Saul. It's, the universe, let's say, or karma, or some sort of energy perhaps is giving us the king we want, or
Mm.
Christians have asked for. And it's like, okay, bad idea. But if this is what you want, you're going to be sorry. But, the Bible would say that's God's mercy to finally get our attention and get us back on track. And the first term should have done it.
Dear
But
God.
the crazy thing is even more fervor for, Trump in the second time than it was I think in 2016, there were, Christians that were still like, I don't know, can I vote for this guy? And now they're fully on board the Trump train. And I saw something the other day, like 43% of Christians say they are willing to use violence to advance their Christian ideals into the country. It's a really scary group of people.
It doesn't make any sense. They are not following Jesus. He was like the most pacifist person you could be.
But here's the thing, right? Is that they weren't in the first place. Like they never were. It's just all been about advancement, right? So at first it seemed a little bit more closer to the center of the gospel, because it was them just trying to get a foothold in, right? Like that. So they had to be kind and they had to be compassionate, because that's how you get trust. And so then they build that trust up, but then the second part of the operation comes in, and that's control. And so now you got to be a little bit more demanding to get more control. And then you've got to just really ramp it up and do whatever it takes to take full control. So it's been this process for them that never started with Jesus. The end goal was never, can we look like Jesus? The end goal was always, how much power can we have? And so now they're doing whatever it takes, and no holds barred at this point, because now they've gotten to a place where it's like, you're either in or you're out. We don't have to gain anybody's trust to, like Paul was mentioning earlier, we don't have to bring the free pizza in, blah, 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 so on and so forth. Like, was it Zach Lambert the other day that tweeted something about, it's sad if you want the 10 commandments on the walls in your school, but you don't want free lunches.
Yeah.
Like that's such a great point. And as somebody who works inside of a Title I school, that is, a low income place, that resonates with me, because there's a lot more kids who need food than they do some cuckoo morals that you think that you're making the world a better place by telling them they shouldn't steal. Yeah, okay, tell them they shouldn't steal, but like, what if they literally have nothing to eat and mom's working 3 jobs and they're watching their baby sister, right? Like, sometimes you just got to jack the bread from the store so that the baby doesn't starve. Like,
right.
And I'm not saying, I'm not going to get into a moral debate about right, wrong, indifferent, whatever. But here's the thing. That's not Jesus. Jesus doesn't give a damn about what's on the walls in a school. Like, does not care. But are you feeding the hungry, clothing the naked? Are you visiting those in prison? Are you doing these actual things? Are you meeting people where they're at? It was never about Jesus for them in the first place. Yeah. And now we're just seeing it for what it is.
Also, just the whole idea of, I don't understand what they think they're going to accomplish by putting the 10 commandments in classrooms anyway, because it's not like teachers are up there being like, you should steal, you should lie, you can murder. Like, they're all like, those are basic good morals that they're being taught by authority already. I mean, not the, remember the Sabbath day and keep it holy, but that's also not freedom of religion either, or separation of church and state.
Oh, we're that was never in the Constitution, April. That was it's just a stupid letter, as Lauren Boebert said.
Well, tomorrow the debate will be interesting.
I was going to say
to it.
about the debate is how can I get a hold of these Biden drugs that Trump is talking about? That Biden is a slobbering idiot that can't even put 2 sentences together or walk from the light switch to the bed. But he was saying after the State of the Union that Biden did so well at State of the Union because they had him hopped up on drugs, and now he's saying Biden's going to be so hopped up on that cocaine they found in the White House. He's trying to set up so if he gets his ass kicked in the
I don't think he
debate,
knows how drugs work.
he's gonna. So
Also,
how can I get a hold of some of those drugs that
Well-
take a riddled 80-year-old and make him into a classic, awesome
Right.
debater?
Well, he's playing his old trick too. Just like leading up to 2020, he kept saying, "Oh, if I lose, it's because it's rigged. If I lose, it's because he was setting the stage to lose and then claim it was rigged." He's doing the same thing with the debate by saying, "Oh, who knows? Maybe I'll let Biden win. I might just let Biden win." I'm like, he's setting the stage to say like if Biden wins, it's because he let him.
And they believe it.
I know.
They believe it. They're like, oh, he's got grace because he pulled punches. He could have just beat down that old man. And
He
could have
has
talked-
such a thin little ego. I mean, he is a small little man.
he is.
I will say Trump clearly frustrates Biden too, because was it one of the debates where Biden was like, "Well, that's just malarkey." And
Yeah.
Well, I think maybe what won Biden the election last time was him telling Trump to shut up. I think for me, it's
Yeah.
like, thank God, finally somebody told him to shut his fat mouth.
Right.
Yeah.
By the way, go ahead, Jeremy. I'm sorry.
Well, I was just going to say, I typically have historically always enjoyed watching the debates. I mean,
Same.
no matter what side I've been on, any debate that Trump is in is unbearable because he's a jerk. Like he doesn't have any couth. Like they talk over each other. Everybody talks over each other, right? But like you think about some of the debates that we watched, like, early 2000s, mid 2000s, you think of the Bushes and the Gores and the Romneys and the Obama certainly. But you think about those people and just how intellectual those debates were and how you're hearing two different perspectives, but you're hearing two really educated, like game changer perspectives. That's what you're hearing.
And they were respectful.
And they were respectful to each other, shook hands, appreciated each other. Now what you're seeing, right? Now what you're seeing is just idiots yelling at each other,
Mhm.
which is just our social media. And I think we have become so dumb as a country.
Mhm.
Like I hate to say that, but we have, like, there's just no
Idiocracy. Yeah.
It's idiocracy, right? I'm not afraid of a theocracy. I'm afraid of an idiocracy.
Yeah.
And it's
And a theocracy. I'm also afraid.
I mean,
Well,
but
and
those are interchangeable.
Yeah.
In 2016, Michelle Obama made that beautiful speech about when they go low, we go high, but you cannot do that anymore. You
Nope.
can't
Right.
beat Trump in a debate, particularly with his little minions, by being classy. You have to get in the mud with him, and Biden's gonna have to do that.
It'll be interesting. You know what? I have a video that's somewhat related if we want to start our evangelical cringe.
I wanted to throw in Jennifer in the comments here on the live stream. I think asked a really good question. She says, "I'm scared anytime I think about politics or what will happen if Trump wins. How can I function when my fear paralyzes me, which it does?" What would you guys say to that?
I mean, I definitely feel like that in moments too. I think I try to think about the majority of people are not MAGA. They're not these extremists. If the extremists get power, that's one thing, but there's power in numbers and we do have numbers, and I just have to trust that it's going to work out. And I know that's a very pie in the sky kind of way of looking at it, but I, like you, I have so much anxiety if I think of not. And like people like us, people can change. I know I changed. And so I just have to hope that one day when people see the harm that they're causing to other people, and because I do think most Christians who have been swept up in this Trumpism, and not the people at the top, but just your everyday church going, vote God, love God, vote Republican people, I think they genuinely want to do good and they mean well. And so once they see the absolute chaos and harm that this that would cause, if it gets to that point, I just have to believe in their goodness that they will switch.
I think that I think for me, I have to remember that whatever extreme is being called for, we really never see the fruition of extreme. I mean, sometimes we have, and so I shouldn't say never, but I still believe that our system has enough checks and balances in place, that there is going to be pushback. We've got to remember that, it's going to be really hard for, even if Trump wins, it's going to be hard for him to get things done without the Senate. That's another thing to keep in mind. And so I think that I think that we have to trust the system that's in place and hope that we can continue to move the system in a right direction. And I agree with you, April. I think that there are enough people out there that legitimately are not in the blinders. I just think it is a very loud minority. I think that's really what it is. It's the squeaky wheel gets the grease, right? And I think the whole MAGA thing is very, very overplayed because the crazy gets the views. And so whether we are watching Lauren Boebert talk because we think she's stupid, or because you're watching Lauren Boebert talk because you love everything that comes out of her mouth, it's crazy extreme. And we're all just kind of watching it because it entertains us. But so often those entertainment things are not what wins the day. And so I have faith in our system to an extent. There's a lot that needs to be fixed, but I have faith in our system to an extent to believe that extremism and dictatorship will not take over.
Right.
I'm a little more cynical than you guys. Go ahead, April. I'm sorry, I cut you off.
Oh, I was just going to say that how I function, fight or flight is my thing. And so I'm in fight. And so I make videos and I do podcasts and I call this
Right.
out and I post it and I talk to people that I know are probably a little more conservative. And I'm like, do you know about Project 2025? Do you know about this? And, it's weird because I don't want to be alarmist, but at the same time, I want to be realistic and not to be a downer, but there are some real threats on the horizon, real possible threats which is why one of the reasons why we started Evangelicalish too. Like back then, the threat wasn't as high. It was newish, but that's just what I have to do is like, I'm just going to talk about it until it's illegal for me to talk about. And even then,
and even then, I am a little bit cynical. I do believe the MLK line that the arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends towards justice. I believe that, but sometimes that's a very long arc, and sometimes there's a lot of painful steps in the middle of that. And so if Trump wins, I think it's an absolute nightmare, and God only knows what's on the other side of that. If Trump loses, it's still bad. I still think it's going to be bad. And part of the reason is, the minority of minions of Trump are small, but they're motivated. And I know quite a few people in my circle who are saying, I'm just not going to vote. I'm just not going to vote. I can't stand either one of them. And particularly younger people in my life are saying, our vote doesn't mean anything. We got Biden in there and he didn't do anything that he promised us. And so part of what happened in Germany in the 30s is their government was really bad and conditions were really bad. And so people were like, we'll take anybody that will get us out of this mess. And while I will vote for Joe Biden in this election, there is nothing that says to me the Democrats are exponentially the better party ultimately than maybe what the Republican Party was. It is now. But still, I think our government has real issues. And so in some ways, I'm kind of in a place of like having it torn down.
We need ranked choice voting.
Certainly history has shown it's taken catastrophe sometimes to get things corrected. And so we may be in that spot.
Well, on that note, should we move to Evangelicringe?
All I know is I'm in California, and we'll be telling y'all, see you later. We're going to start our own country. Take care.
And,
Us,
and
in,
y'all,
us in Texas will be exiting. You know?
yeah, well, and that's where all the extremists will move. Like everybody on the left is going to go to California. Everybody on the right is going to go to Texas. And
Yes.
then,
well, it's already Idaho is like, can you Californians stop moving here?
yeah.
Okay, I have a video.
Okay, go ahead. Go.
Okay, so this is a real commercial. This is not my house. Is that really quiet?
It's a little quiet. Yeah.
I don't know if I can turn it up. Well, we'll see. This is a commercial for some coins. Oh, it's so quiet. I have it turned up all the way. Okay, I will narrate it. It is a coin. On the front is it's a coin of President Biden, and on the back is Trump in prison. But there's a second coin in the same commercial where on the front is President Trump, and on the back is Biden in prison. And they're selling both in the same commercial. I feel like this is like what the Apostle Paul meant when he says, "Be all things to all people." An equal opportunity grift. Right here. It even comes with a certificate of authenticity.
Capitalism is not partisan, I guess.
Yeah, no, no, they do not discriminate. Your choice for $89, but if you act fast, you can get one of these coins for $39.99. So
for the coin, wait, is it real silver?
I don't know. I sure hope so. Did it say in the beginning? You have the pro-Trump coin and the pro-Biden coin. I can't imagine they're going to sell many of the Biden coins just because people that like Biden are not. We don't have a chosen one. They don't have a chosen one song about Biden.
Yeah, I always hear that. Why don't I see more Biden flags around? I'm like, because
we don't like him that much.
Bleeping idiots as you people. We don't worship men.
Yeah, he's fine.
We don't worship men.
Yeah. So anyway,
other than maybe Tiger Woods or something.
Can you get both for 50? That's a good marketing.
I wonder if there's anyone who would buy both. Like if you imagine going to someone's house and they had both displayed. Honestly, if I were to get both, which I won't because that's a waste of money, but I would just have both of them in prison on the back just to confuse people.
But it comes with a certificate of authenticity.
Right. So it's authentic.
Real. Yeah, it's authentic for
something.
Yeah. Because they think it's going to sell extra on the resale market and people are going to start knocking it off.
Well, the conspiracy theory is Biden will win the election and then Gavin Newsom will be swept in as president and Biden will step down for
honestly, I'm fine with that plan.
Reasons, yeah.
I wish he'd step down for health reasons now.
I wish he would have done it months ago.
Yeah.
I think so. So I actually have a theory that that's what he's going to do. I think he's going to get through the election. He's going to win, and then he's going to resign, and
they're
going to let Harris be president.
And I'm sure they've looked at the numbers and everything, but I just feel like there's so many people that are mad at Biden and don't want to vote for Biden. Doesn't it make more sense for him to leave now?
But think about his legacy, right? And this is it's selfish, but all politics is. Think about him and his legacy if he steps aside and clears the way for the first woman president, a woman of color, right? And he is the one who kind of he comes out smelling like a hero, and history nods and smiles at him forever. Doesn't matter what he's done for all this other stuff and how much he's fallen flat on his face and can't put a sentence together like the other 51 weeks of the year.
Except
right?
He has to win the election.
I mean, yeah, you're right. And that might be a challenge too. But I think he's playing the history has its eyes on you game. Is what I really think.
And by the way, Governor Newsom's popularity is not hugely high out here in California right now. And I think some of that is just basic distaste for elected officials. And I don't think any place should be a one-party system. And the Republicans have gone so cracky insane out here that no Republican can get elected. So the Dems have a supermajority, and I don't think that creates good government. I think good government is when different philosophies are pulling against each other. So,
Well, Gavin does have one good thing going for him, and that's that he's not 80.
oh, I thought you were going to say his hair. He has really
He's got a good hair too.
He's got good hair.
But so do you, Paul. You've got great hair.
Well, that my hair is one of the things that's very different since we first started the show. So that's been a big change.
Anyway, so anybody buying a Trump or Biden coin for what is it, $39.99? I guess.
Mhm.
No, I'm good.
Deal?
On sale from 80. What a deal.
I'm good. I bought all those Trump NFTs, and that didn't work out so well.
All right, Paul, do you have another clip for us?
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Alex Jones.
I'm not trying to be dramatic here, but it's been a hard fight. These people hate our children.
Is this real? Is he really crying?
Just take more calls. I tried to sustain this place. I didn't believe America was as corrupt as this. I didn't believe we were this and we are this. This country is administratively got a bunch of scum in charge of it. That's why it's going down the tubes, and America and the whole world sees it. So you misjudged who I am, and in a year of minions misjudged who I am, and you have no idea. So go ahead, try to some operation to shut the doors here and do that. I don't sit there and make threats. I make promises. You will, at the end of the day, know that Alex Jones, the American patriot, defeated your evil ass. We have to stay here. We have to let them shut us down. We have to stand all the way to the end, and we're going to win. My voice will completely go into this, but it's fine. It's my resistance to them. It's a God's transmission. It's a human under attack.
Oh my gosh, he turned into a tomato. Well, that's fun. Was he actually crying there at the beginning?
I don't think so. But there's a story out now that the court is going to shut InfoWars down.
Oh, really?
Because of the Sandy Hook thing.
Watch that guy. Andrew says unhinged. That is the only word that popped in my head.
Very unhinged.
These are the people they're getting their information from.
Yeah.
Did he not go to jail, or did he just owe money?
He just owes money.
That he'll never pay.
Yeah.
Or may pay in bits and pieces at a time.
So Alex Jones a couple months ago shared this tweet. Genuinely. Can I share an image on here?
I think so. Or you can share your screen. Yeah.
Okay.
You can just add an image and put it up.
I don't know how to. It just says video file or
Is it online?
Go to brand.
I'm just going to share the screen.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
right.
share screen and share it from the internet.
Okay, share. He posted this. It says, "I will eat your leftist ass."
Thou shalt not cover thy neighbor's ass.
That is, and obviously he goes viral, and everyone is freaking out. Hold on, let me see if I can find. Okay, I'm not gonna be able to find his quote tweet, but he posted that, and everyone obviously is making gay jokes, right? Because that's what that sounds like. Like, wow, Alex, way to be an ally. Like the gay community was just having a field day with that. And so he quote tweets it, and I wish I could find it. But he was saying basically that he meant it like he would be a cannibal and like eat the flesh and blah blah blah. And
it can't get any better.
I know, he made it so much worse. Can I find it?
So so while you're doing that, I have to show you one that our John Cox, who is in our comments here, he put this one up on the Facebook group page.
Oh yeah.
Ram in the bush.
Ram
Christian
in the bush.
Center.
Christian
Okay,
Center.
I have his quote tweet now. I can read it to you. So this is what Alex Jones said. He quote tweeted his own image. You know what? Let me share this screen so y'all can really experience this with me. he quote tweets his own thing, right? And says, the left has misunderstood what my intention was in posting this meme. I am talking about the road warrior collapse that has already begun because of the policies of the Great Reset. I am talking about cannibalism, as defined as the consumption of another human's flesh. 10 days without food and over 80% of people start eating each other. You guys want to bring down civilization, so I just wanted to warn you. Good luck. I'm like, that's not any better, you weirdo. And why? Like, so you're saying in a cannibal situation, you're going for the butt first.
Yeah.
That's where the best meat is. That's where it is.
No, stop.
It-
There's
and, you know,
there's no direction this goes that it's like good.
I know. Wild times. Anyway, I just thought I had to share that. That was funny. He posted that back in
So Alex Jones is an ass man, we see. Okay.
Mhm.
That's-
Cannibal ass man.
Cannibal ass
specifically.
man.
and we're talking about how these long-term things have paid dividend. That, you know, that Wild at Heart book has made Christians like so freaky faux masculine, you know, and you know, trying to claim large, you know, and it's just so sad to watch. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was interested
The
to hear
P
rest
word,
of that.
the male P word, I guess, the biological male P word. Since I can't, gosh,
Yeah.
I gotta hold off.
You can cuss. My daughter's not watching anymore. She
Okay.
She's
Well, shit good. Okay.
I would not have
Shit
posted I will
good.
eat your leftist ass if my daughter was still watching.
I
Oh
will
my
eat your
gosh.
leftist ass.
All right, here's another cringy video. Julie Green, the prophetess to Trump, telling why her prophecy that Trump would be found innocent is wrong.
News will be heard that will rattle the enemy's camp. Innocent. This ruling will be heard. The case has fallen apart. Their last ditch effort did not work for President Trump. They cannot put him in jail now as the last indictment falls apart. Watch how things dramatically take place to stop your election and my David from taking back the seat of the president.
My David.
But your enemies cannot stop the freight train coming against them because it's me, saith the Lord.
Recent court
hosts.
hearing.
Apparently,
And if
it also ruffles the feathers of the MSM. You know, I guess they like to report that I'm some, you know, MAGA prophet. No, I'm just a mouthpiece of God.
No,
It doesn't
you're
matter
just a
how
MAGA
much
nut.
they persecute. Doesn't matter how much they mock. It doesn't even matter how much they twist God's word. God's word is truth.
I just feel like the God of the universe would not use some random YouTuber to get his message across. I don't know.
Particularly
me.
not a woman.
Yes, if it was, yeah.
Yeah, why did she
Patriarchal God, yeah.
The literalist, if she's a literalist of the Bible, she should not be on there.
Yeah, what is
And
she
I know
doing?
you received this criticism before, April. You should not be teaching men.
I
And-
have.
And what does she care about politics? I mean, because according to them, she shouldn't vote.
I know. I swear we got a lot of Serena Joys from The Handmaid's Tale out here.
Oh my gosh. I do shudder because I did watch Handmaid's Tale. It was really painful to watch. And now I'm like, oh my God, they really do want that.
Yeah.
Like, women, you are baby factories. That's the point of your existence.
There's a lot of things I love y'all for, but like sometimes I'm more acutely aware of things because we've talked about them on here or whatever. And like April brought up like the trad wife thing, which I had no idea existed, and now I see it all over the place, and I'm like, good God. Like, you know, I mean,
Yeah.
it's just it is the abused sympathizing with their abusers.
Mhm.
Is what this has become. And I think so many people have been sucked in because they've been emotionally manipulated and abused. They've been spiritually manipulated and abused. And what's really sad is I think maybe up to like 90% of the people who fall into this crazy rhetoric and you know, spew it line for line, verbatim. I think a lot of them are spiritually and emotionally abused, maybe physically abused, but these people are people who have been manipulated and abused, and so now they've just become sympathetic to the rhetoric and the ideologies that they've been abused with. I think is really what's happening so often, and I cannot imagine a world, especially for my daughters growing up, where they feel like they should just shut up and be silent and sit in a corner and cover their face. Like
There's an account on Instagram. This is genuine. I don't remember the girl's name, but she has a whole platform where she talks about how she's a stay-at-home daughter so that she can practice to become the perfect stay-at-home wife. So she like serves her parents to practice, and she like gets ready the house. It's not her house. She lives with her parents, but she literally is like, as a stay-at-home daughter, here's what I do. And it's like, oh my gosh. It's actually sad.
that's child abuse.
Mm.
That
I
is
mean,
child abuse.
she's doing it herself, and she's like 20. She's not a child. Like, she's not like a kid. She's college age.
But then she was abused as a child.
I mean, I will say the alt-right, there are certain tunnels you can go down on the internet to join the alt-right that may not even be her parents. It could just be she got sucked into that echo chamber. I don't know, but yeah, that's stay-at-home daughter. Like, oh my gosh, that's wild.
And April, probably you and I more than Jeremy are from that prophetic culture, you know. And I was talking about this week, this Robert Morris thing in Gateway Church in Dallas, where he was inappropriate with a 12-year-old. You cannot be inappropriate with a 12-year-old child.
You can be a felon.
Yeah.
But this is a prophetic, you know, Bethel style church that God talks to all of the people every day. And God never bothered once to say, hey, there's a real problem in your house and you need to fix it. It ought to make the church really question, are we really hearing from God if God didn't tell us how your pastor's a child molester?
I know. And there's still even with that knowledge, I've seen so many Gateway defenders.
Oh my gosh. Totally.
Like, oh, yet he who is without sin cast the first stone. Like, all sins are equal. I'm like, no, they're not. Like, me not washing the dishes when I told Beecher that I did is not the same thing as what Robert Morris did to that 12-year-old girl.
That's exactly right. Like but that was the rhetoric inside of that world, right? Like, God sees sin at 30,000 feet. Like, you know, like we stand in the middle of the street and see, you know, the skyscrapers and the buildings and the differences in them. But, you know, God sees it, you know, it just all sin is bad sin and, you know, whatever. And it's just like, no, that's really not how it works. Like, I feel like telling a white lie to not ruin somebody's day is a lot different than molesting a child. Like those are not the same.
Yeah. Andrew, my brother's in the comments too. He says Gateway was the only church that I literally walked out mid-sermon. He walked out and called me because they had Jonathan Cahn. I don't know if y'all are familiar with him. I think he calls himself a Messianic Jew. He's in the prophet world. He's awful. I'm not a fan. But he went on this rant against gay people and how homosexuality was bringing forth judgment and that Obama was terrible. Because this was maybe a year or two after gay marriage was legalized. And Andrew just called me bawling because he just felt so much hate from the pulpit in that service. Because Andrew had recently come out gay to us. And I was just like, how messed up is it that you can't go to a church without feeling like on the verge of a panic attack because you are being attacked from the pulpit for who you are, for nothing that you can control. So I mean, I haven't been a Gateway fan for a while because of that and other things, but yeah, the whole mega church, you know, system, the way that they're set up is just, it's toxic. It's just, it harbors abuse and authoritarian pastors and people that are yes men and don't question, don't touch God's anointed and all that stuff.
Sadly, I don't think it's just mega churches. And I keep asking, is it just bad people, or is there something in the system of American Christianity that is now either encouraging pedophiles to come in and find their place, or somehow the sexual repression of it all trips something in somebody that has that proclivity? I don't know. It's something, but we don't ever look at, oh, well, that guy's bad, or that guy's bad, or that guy's bad. Instead, like, is there something wrong in the system? Because it seems like the groomers aren't in the classroom. The groomers are in the house of the Christian church.
Well, there are groomers in the classrooms too.
I'm sure, but
There are.
I don't hear, well, yes, there's a lot of those, but Christians are the ones pointing the fingers at everybody else as groomers at the drag queen story hour and the women's restrooms and all of that.
Well, and I think pastors or just church leaders are more likely to get away with it because of the power structure that is in place, and because of the children are taught to respect their elders and to respect, pastors almost as vessels of God. And so that's when you add
to be submissive, particularly the biological females, be submissive.
Yeah.
And be sweet, be quiet.
Right. So you're taught just in your own belief system and like when girls are taught to cover up so that you protect men's eyes from stumbling, then you're automatically going to blame yourself if something happens. And so you don't want to tell anybody because you don't want to be shamed. And like how I can think of dozens of instances personally where there was some kind of affair or abuse, and everyone judged the woman or the victim in it as almost asking for it because, a man's going to be a man because they, boys are going to do what boys are going to do. Like they have a penis, they can't help it. There's just so much grace for those people, but not for anybody else.
Oh, jeez. Well, Paul, that was something you had kind of brought up, maybe when the three of us were talking, or maybe I don't remember. Anyway, earlier this week. But I think it's all of it. I think it is a problem with the system. I think it is problems inside the system. And I think because of that, it draws people who would love to be a part of that system. And so I don't think any of those things are mutually exclusive. Like, I don't think that it's only the system creates pedophiles or only pedophiles are drawn to the system. I think it's C, all of the above. Because it is so broken, and because it's so messed up, and because it is a power thing, and because it's mind control. And so they're bringing people in, they're manipulating people, telling them what to think, how to act, how to dress, how to be. And then at the same time, they're repressing all this sexuality. And it's a recipe for disaster. It is a recipe for disaster. And it needs to burn down. Like, it just needs to burn down. And maybe, as you were saying earlier, Paul, maybe the same thing is true for our government. But I think that it's sad that people won't just wake up and they're like, you can't hate the church. You just have to be frustrated with those who are being ungodly inside of it. I was like, at what point do we draw the line and say, no, it's pretty much all y'all? Because it's becoming more of the rule than it is the minority at this point.
Even that not all Christians argument doesn't work, because the Bible often judged people in people groups. Like I said, Jesus said, "Oh, Jerusalem, you who killed the prophets." He's talking about a mindset there. He's not saying every of the 3 million Jews who were in Jerusalem at that time had all killed a prophet. There's a mindset that is causing.
Well, I think too, it's the hypocrisy of it all, because you have more, the more conservative Christians in the church that will paint a broad brush when it comes to LGBTQ people for a handful of cases of child abuse. They call every queer person is a child abuser. Like they have no problem painting that broad of a brush. But when you have many, 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 many more, and the percentages are much higher, much, much higher, and pastors and church leaders than in the queer community, then it's just a few rotten apples. It's just a few bad apples. It's just a few bad men. We can't judge all of the church for a few bad people. We're all sinners. And so there's hypocrisy there on a complete misled and like misinformation, because like if you go to the statistics, there's a website that's Who's in the News, or I think it's Who's in the News. And it's a trans woman who's a lawyer, and she just tracks all of the child abuse cases based on occupation or their LGBTQ queer identity. And pastors, way up there. And like the queer people don't even really make the graph. And there are less pastors in America than there are queer people.
Yeah.
So even with that, like it's not even the same. Like
based on the ratios.
Truth.
Like,
right. But
Yeah.
I do think we also don't want to paint too broad a brush, because I do believe that a majority of people, or a lot of people, I should say, that do go to church do mean well and are not okay with child abuse, and maybe are trying to change the system. And there are progressive affirming churches that exist too. And so it's not all of Christianity, but American Christianity has very much tainted the system. Like it's the system. It's not necessarily the people, but the people keep the system going that are in power. And
and the people have to stand up and speak against it. And so I do challenge Christians today. Like you're either speaking out against this, or you're damn close to being complicit to it, if not completely complicit to it.
Well, and you know, I just keep going back to, you know, I tell people all the time, I've seen a lot of pastors, a lot of teachers, and a lot of politicians on To Catch a Predator, but I haven't seen one drag queen.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, the numbers don't lie.
This is fun. We're going over like old times.
Always. Do we have one more clip?
Well, I want to, Jeremy, I heard your pain. And so I want to add to it a little bit. This was a video I played last week for Evangelic Cringe. And I don't know if you saw it or not, but this is a trad wife couple. And she is talking about the fact that she didn't like Harrison Butker's speech because he cried. Observe. Whoops, where is it here? Oh, now I lost it, of course.
Do you have one over here? Is that Greg Locke I see?
Yeah, I do have a Greg Locke. Oh, what did I do with the
Gregory?
Okay, I got to play this one for Jeremy first. Here it goes.
Okay.
Saying
How do you respect a man who's gonna go cry on stage about you?
he didn't cry, his voice cracked. He was getting emotional.
Okay, maybe
If
I'm
that
being
was
too
me,
harsh.
that means you cheat on me?
No.
That means you're cheating?
No.
Shut up. You're so
He just-
stupid.
I'm
That
saying he
is
seems-
ridiculous.
he seems
No,
soft.
quiet. Thank you.
Oof.
Do we ever figure out how old that kid is? Because he looks like he's 12 or 13.
If that's my daughter, I'm going to jail.
A guy who tells his wife to shut up is not a man. I'm sorry.
A guy who looks 12. He doesn't I'm not sure he's hit puberty. I'm sure. How old is
Have
he?
any hair on his balls? What is that?
He just looks really young.
It just that self-hatred taught
And that
to
she takes
a
that.
female. Just
That's
I
sad.
hate it. I hate
He's
it.
an abuser.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. We've got some Greg Locke here. We got us some Greg Locke just to cleanse the palate as we go.
Pastors don't talk about this stuff. Well, I do. They don't want to seem crazy. I'm already crazy. People like, do you really think it's that much of an epidemic? Do you honestly believe, how am I going to get some more crazy? Do you honestly believe, Pastor Locke, that the military uncovered tunnels beneath the Capitol building and beneath the White House and in the Five-Fingered Lakes? Do you really believe that they found kids? Yeah, both live ones and dead ones. And if you disagree with that, and if you try to discount that, and if you try to cover that, and if you try to keep that on the DL, you're just as complicit as Hunter Biden and the rest of them bunch of crack-smoking perverts.
I feel like I've seen that clip before. Is that an older clip?
I don't know.
Well,
it
either
popped
way,
up on
it's
my
so
feed
crazy.
this week.
Yeah.
What is he talking about?
I don't know, but Greg Locke did a flat Earth debate a few months ago, and he was on the side that the Earth was round. So
Yeah, it's like the only time I've ever agreed with Greg Locke.
I know, I'm pretty sure he lost the debate though, because they only were
Ooh.
doing it based on the Bible. So Greg Locke couldn't bring in any science, which would have easily won him the argument. Anyway, it was pretty funny. They got heated. And the guy he was debating ended up throwing the microphone at the end, and Greg Locke kicked him off the stage. It was real civil.
Yeah. They debate like Daddy Trump, I guess.
No, daddy.
The flat earther and Mark Driscoll getting thrown off the stage.
Oh, yeah, I know. The
I
men's
forgot about
conference.
that. Yeah.
Jezebel spirit.
Oh, Mark.
So I've been a little bit emotional today because this is our last official time together. And so where are y'all going from here? I guess spiritually and physically.
Physically. We're going to Disney.
Yeah.
Jeremy, do you want to go first?
Yeah, sure. I think for me, like I've kind of taken a season of not making as much content and not getting myself in as deep into consuming content inside of the deconstruction space, but just kind of finding joy in this new part of my journey. And not to sound very evangelical, but just to actually be the hands and feet of Jesus for people, to love on people, to encourage people, to come alongside people. I found a lot of really great ways to do that just in my everyday life. And it's been good just building relationships and connections with people, and I found some healing, I think, in that. So that's been really good. So for me, I think this season looks a little different, and just kind of stepping out of that, I don't know, social media spotlight a little bit. And it's not because I've become silent. It's just because, I just wanted to kind of put the button to the letter a little bit. And do these things that we talk about, showing my friends in the LGBTQIA plus community that I will show up to things with them and for them, and just give grace and good love and good kindness to people, and just be there. And so that's been the biggest part of this most recent season for me. And again, just finding some healing in that, I think, in just this new place. I am no longer the pickup driving pastor from Oklahoma. I have an SUV now, so things are really getting crazy over here. And just finding renewed hope in my marriage and in my relationships, and all of those good things, and all of that outside of just a hyper religious space. I still consider myself very spiritual. I still love Jesus a whole lot. I think Jesus is incredible. And so, yeah, I don't know. It's a very new season for me, but I'm finding a lot of healing in it, I guess is probably the best way to say it.
Nice. And where can people, are you still posting online where people can still follow you?
Yeah, I still post occasionally. I don't do as many reels and TikToks. Just occasionally I'll post some quotes or just some different things that that matter to me. I still do that. So you can find me at Pastor from OK on any social media. And then also, I still meet with a group of really great folks on Sunday mornings on my YouTube channel. We meet at 11 Central on Sunday.
What is your YouTube channel?
Just at Pastor from OK.
Okay, cool.
And so you can find me there, and we just spend time hanging out. And I typically teach out of Scripture, but it's just a lot of practical application and how we can love each other better, how we can love our communities better, and those kinds of things. So it's definitely a lot different, just from that perspective. But yeah, so it's still really good. And so if you want to, that's probably the place where I'm most active. So if you want to come hang out with me on a Sunday morning, I would love that.
It's beautiful.
Awesome.
And health wise, you were having some health problems for a while there. You're doing okay now.
Yeah. So probably what most ish people don't know is that I had a brain tumor, or have a brain tumor. And so I'm not going to get off into that. It's benign. I'm fine. But it did take a while to get things kind of under control. And so, but really great doctors, really great medicine, really great science. And through all of that, got a lot healthier, managing and controlling the symptoms of said tumor. And so that's been really great. And I've lost like 70 pounds. So that's
Nice.
Also pretty cool. So, yeah.
Well, hey, forgive me if I medically outed you there. I'm sorry. I thought we
No.
It was a
Yeah,
HEPA violation, Paul.
Yeah,
kidding.
HIPAA
No
violation.
kidding.
Yeah, no. I've talked about it on my socials before. That wasn't like private information, but I think I was just kind of still in the throes of it when I left the show. So I don't think I had mentioned it here. So no. You were totally fine.
Okay. Thank you. April, you want to go, or you want me to go and you finish it with a bang?
I can go.
Okay.
So spiritually, kind of like what Jeremy said, I'm still figuring out all the belief thing, but I still love Jesus, so I still consider myself a Christian. But to me, the beliefs are an intangible, and what matters far more are my actions and what I actually do and how I treat my neighbor, and if I can make my community a better place and stand up for the marginalized, and the things that Jesus actually taught us to do, love thy neighbor, all that kind of stuff. So that's what I'm doing. And I'm trying to be more present, which ironically, I'm not doing a very good job of right now because my life's gotten really, really busy, which is kind of one reason why I'm leaving Evangelicalish. Something had to go. I was getting overwhelmed with many, many things. As many of you know, I took some time off last year to write a book, and I'm happy to say it has been written. Actually, I have a mock-up here. Shameless plug.
Nice.
It's called Star Spangled Jesus, Leaving Christian Nationalism and Finding a True Faith. It is now available for pre-order wherever books are sold.
Nice.
But it comes out October 1st. And so there's just a lot. I like in a couple weeks, I'll be recording the audiobook for it. And there's a lot more that goes into publishing than I realized. But I want to be more present with my kids because I feel like I missed out on I wasn't a very good mom or a very good spouse when I was writing this book because it just took so much of my time. And so I both my girls are going to school. My youngest starts kindergarten in the fall. And so I'm going to try to be intentional about building community here and putting down some roots and doing all of that stuff. And you'll still see me on TikTok and Instagram and Twitter and Facebook and all the places, still at April of Joy. And I've started co-hosting the New Evangelicals recap, which is just on Fridays with Tim Whitaker, who runs the New Evangelicals. And we just literally recap the news from the week from a ex-evangelical, post-evangelical perspective. So I will still be around, and I'll still be in the Evangelicalish Facebook group. And if Paul will have us back, I'm sure we'll be back at some point, maybe in October, so I can plug my book.
Absolutely.
I think it's fantastic.
By the way, we had Tim on as a guest a little while back, and he swore he was not taking you from evangelical.
Well, I wasn't planning on it. It was just I try to make it work. It just wasn't. There was just a season for everything.
Well, as I keep saying, it's I'm sad to lose you both, and certainly, but rooting both of you on, and it's been beautiful to be with you in all of this. And so yeah, my wife is going to join uh, for the summer for sure for Evangelicalish, and she's an interesting person because she's been an elected official. She's very involved in economic development in our region and helping historically marginalized communities and things like that. And she brings a really incredible perspective. I ruined her spirituality. And so she's been wrestling with that for a long time. And April, you and Beecher did the non-binary marriage podcast, and Ashley and I are sort of in the throes of that process. There, a lot has changed for me since the start of Evangelicalish, and I found out I was DID because of a guest, Jenna, that we had on the pod, and so navigating life as a DID multiple with these different genders inside, and being married to a wonderful person and having great kids who are out of the house now. We're now empty nesters. We're just going to messily walk through that in front of the world, I guess, a little bit on Evangelicalish, as you and Beecher did to help so many people. And so that's kind of where we're going. And I've also been invited to go on a Southern States tour with the 1946 The Movie crew, and be kind of the voice against Christian nationalism in that. And so we're going to be putting out a lot of information about that as well, including going to Oklahoma City to see Jeremy.
Ooh.
Which I'm really excited about.
So yeah, and for me, spirituality it's in some ways it's becoming better than what I knew as a Christian. I for a while it's kind of like, well, can I be spiritual anymore? And I've found now that I'm seeing the world in like dimensions and energy and connection with other people and with all things, which in many ways, again, I think this is a lot of what Jesus was teaching, is sozo being the idea of connecting you back to your identity for yourself and in connection with heaven. So like, love God, love your neighbor as yourself, because you're all connected. And so I'm finding really exciting spiritual fruit from that. And yeah, I'm going to be sharing about that as well as we just all try to figure this thing out together.
Well, Evangelicalish is in very good hands.
Aw.
And I just want to, not to be all mushy about it, but I have really valued and loved doing Wednesday nights with y'all for 3.5 years, just about. That's a good run.
It is.
And Paul's going to carry the torch. We can like visually pass it on.
That was okay. So the way it's set up on my screen, I'm like on the bottom and y'all are on the top. Yeah, y'all just coordinated that beautifully. Like,
here, Jeremy, you hand me the torch. You left first, so you hand it to me. Yep. Oh,
there you go.
Nope.
Yeah, there you go.
And then I'll hand it to Paul.
Oh, wait.
It's
all mirrored.
No,
I guess.
Right. Yeah, y'all did it right. At least from my perspective, which I don't know if it's the same for everybody else. But yeah.
And sorry to interrupt, Jerry. And just so super cool, all the people that are saying really wonderful things here in the live stream, but that people would come and hang out with us every Wednesday night and talk to each other in the comment string and everything has just been super cool. Some of the folks, like I see Heidi in there, we met her in Nashville and all of that. So it's just been a super cool experience.
Honestly, I think our live show that we did at the Lipstick Lounge in Nashville is one of my favorite memories that have happened in the last like 5 years for me. It's at the top.
Without question.
Yeah, that may be my favorite. Certainly one of my top, like you said, April, one of the top 5 things for sure. But maybe my favorite thing that doing the whole social media TikTok thing has afforded us. Like that just felt like a family reunion, of like people that I knew so well, but had never met, you know? I mean, like,
Yeah.
and what's crazy about that is the only time the three of us have ever shared the same
Yeah.
oxygen.
I know. Still, I know. Just the
Still.
one time,
Yeah.
which is so wild to think about.
It is.
I definitely remember that moment. I was with Jeremy. I met you at the airport, and then April and Beecher at the hotel. And like, oh my gosh, seeing you in 3 dimensions was it was very surreal. It
First
was
time I saw y'all's legs,
yeah.
Right. Right.
the bottom half. Yeah.
And the first
Yeah.
time we were like, damn, April, you're tall.
I try to tell y'all.
You
I
and Beecher are tall.
I had it in my brain. But I was still like, Jesus, she's 6 feet tall. Like, that's crazy.
I know. I guess because I'm like pretty petite for my height, just in general. Like my feet are small for my height, and I'm just small for how tall I am. So when you see me, I look petite,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I'm just stretched.
When you're just in portrait, like you could be 5'4", like every other average woman in America. But for those of you at home, April Ajoy is not 5'4". She is 6 foot tall. She's like Caitlin Clark.
I
So,
love Caitlin Clark. We went and saw her play in Indiana last week with
That's
our girls. It
great.
was pretty awesome.
You love Caitlin Clark because she's white.
Oh God.
Oh, don't even. Oh,
I do, and seeing you all in 3 dimension as I did, just was such a moment of like, oh my gosh, I really love these people and relate to them. And I think that's been the really beautiful thing is we just have been on this journey together, and we all brought something a little bit different to the mix, but at the same time, we're so able to say, okay, we're on this journey together. And that's been really special.
yeah. And I just want to say too, to all the people in the comments and in our Facebook group that have been here, like, I know y'all are saying all these nice things that we've helped you, but y'all have really helped me and helped us to feel less alone. Because when we started this back in 2021, it still kind of felt like we were screaming into the void a little bit, which maybe you could argue we still are. But there's just something very healing about knowing you're not alone, and that's what this whole community has done for me. So thank you to everyone and the people listening on podcasts too.
Yeah. No, super, super grateful. The Ish community is why this even continues to be what it is and has been for so long, and why there is a torch to pass because of y'all. And so, this is a season in our lives. I think I can speak for all of us to say that this is a season in our lives that none of us will ever forget or regret. And we're grateful for each and every single one of you journeying with us.
Yeah. Well, and I'm sure we'll be back at some point. To Paul, you're over here.
Yeah. And
Paul.
and I'll be back next week as from being left behind.
Next week. Evangelical is coming back.
Absolutely. Yep. Oh man, I forgot. I was going to pull up. I have a clip of April saying like, "Oh darn" or something from back before you would cuss, and I forgot to download it.
I couldn't cuss for the longest time too. Y'all taught me how to cuss. I dropped my first F-bomb in public on this show. That's
right. And I remember anytime you would cuss, like you had this like hiccup in it, like you had like the yips.
I know I had to gear up like it,
and you would kind of whisper
rise.
it,
Shit.
Oh my gosh. All right.
Yeah.
Well,
we've come a long way.
We have come a long way. Jeremy, for old times, do you want to sign us out?
Sure. Thank you so much for tuning in this week. It has been another great episode
Wait,
of Evangelical.
Did we decide? Is it this?
Is what? It's
Remember,
this.
it's not this anymore. It's
oh yeah, they like do this weird.
I thought there was something like this.
They do like this, I think.
It's the middle fingers make the top.
Yeah, but I disagree with that. Millennials all the way. This is how I heart.
I do this one now because I work with high school students and they enforced me.
Sell out.
Yeah, I am. Yeah, there is that one too. The little heart. All right. Anyway, thank you so much for tuning into Evangelicalish. again, you can find us on all the socials. Paul will be back next week with another episode. And, for the last 3.5 years, and let me just say, I would be remiss if I didn't say thank you both for having me on this evening and letting me enjoy this last rodeo together. This was good for my heart.
It didn't
grateful
feel
for
like a
everything.
goodbye for me if you weren't here, Jeremy.
Well,
I don't know what that means. Like, I have to say goodbye if Jeremy's there. No, I just want to get the gang back together one last time.
And I think, Jeremy, you said before we came on, like riding a bike, it has been like, hey, we're just doing another show. This is great.
There was at some point in the middle of the show when like April was saying something, and then I was like, oh, April, you're so good at that, blah, blah, blah. And then I was like, oh shit. Like I just derailed April again. Because Paul was like, hey, what were you saying? And April was like, I don't remember. And I'm like, fuck, that was my fault.
No, it was okay. It was a good compliment.
But
Well,
anyway.
and we should have let me run the open and screw it up like I always used to. That we missed out there.
Yeah. Love the production value around here.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So anyway, thank you so much for tuning in to Evangelical-ish. For April and Paul, I'm Jeremy. Paul will be back next week. New season.
And
new
April will be on New
exciting
Evangelicals on Fridays, right, April?
Yes.
That's
Fridays.
the thing. You're going on to that.
I said it earlier. So thanks for good to know you listened to me.
No, I was listening. How did I mean?
No, I've
I heard
already
him
been
say-
doing it. I started it several months ago. So
Yeah, I knew that. All right. So anyway, thanks so much for tuning in. We love you guys. Paul will see you next week.
Bye.
Good night.
And we'll see you all in heaven, if not before.